Our road test last year of a Peugeot 504 saloon was the most popular video of the year, and we thought, well, let's revisit it and try the pickup variant. We're very lucky we know John, who owns this example, doesn't live too far away from us here in beautiful mid Wales. But the Peugeot 504 pickup is quite unusual in that it wasn't launched until 11 years after the saloon. So the saloon and estate were launched in 1968. The pickup didn't arrive until 1979. And that's because they just kept the 404 pickup in production all through the 1970s. And indeed, the engine in here is straight out of the 404. It's not really a 504 engine. But a fascinating concept, a car that was, or a ute rather, that was very popular here for a time. But this is very unusual in being a very, very early one. So you'll note we've got true poverty going on with the headlamps. In the early 80s, this is how you showed poverty, like a mini Metro. The bottom models had smaller headlamp, so these fill in the size of those massive oblong headlamps of the saloon. You just get these little round headlamps as well. It is thought this may be the sole survivor with the earlier front end treatment on it. It dates from 1981, so 2 years after production of the pickups began, but only 2 years before production of the saloon stopped. The pickup carried on right through to the mid-90s, though the last couple of years it was Argentinian 504s that were being shipped over to France. I think they'd stopped selling them in the UK by then. But yeah, a fascinating concept. So let's have a look under the bonnet and see what this engine looks like. There we go. That is a workman-like engine bay. So it's a 1.6 1618cc, I believe, and it's only producing something like 47 brake horsepower. Look how tiny the carburettor is. But obviously these engines would just go on and on. So it's canted right over to help keep the bonnet line low. But from a user maintenance point of view, here's the distributor right in our faces, the alternator right here in front of us, the coil. Everything is kind of neatly laid out. There was also a diesel option fairly early on. I think that was 1.8 litres and even less power. And really, these only became popular when the later engines were fitted a much larger diesel engine to make them economical and very, very reliable indeed. But I love this huge torpedo of an air filter atop the engine. And because it's canted over, the sump sort of goes in a pancake kind of up against the slant of the engine block, but loads of space in here for activities and maybe bigger engines. I love the condition of this example. It is not a mint example, and I love it all the more for that. This kind of feels like how they looked when you saw them about. Now, make sure we're latched on both corners in this test. Moving around to the rear, I don't know how easy it is to have a look at what's going on in here. It is just poppers, so there we go. It's going to take us hours to put all these back on again, and then just good old chunky latches on the back. And we can show you the space in the back. So with the tonneau on, not very deep, but the payload of the 504 pickup was something over a ton. So it's 1100, 1200, depending on the market. And obviously the ones you saw sort of bombing around Africa would be loaded up to the sky with all manner of stuff. So the pickup runs on the longer wheelbase of the estate, but whereas the estate had a live axle with coil springs, this has leaf springs, just something a bit more agricultural for its intended use. And very obvious they are too. But by the way, we love the sticker on the back. This is not a brisk vehicle, and I like the little warning. But the rear lights here, I think, were shared with the Citroen Acadian, and later ones would have a reverse light built into the, sorry, not that, that's a reflector, built into the reverse light here, like a Renault 5. So I suspect some crossover of parts there, but love it with the Peugeot embossed into the back of the tailgate. Quite a smart looking vehicle, I think. I'm now going to spend quite a lot of time redoing poppers. We'll spare you the footage. Clambering aboard, we've got this luxurious bench seat It hasn't got seatbelt for the middle, so I'm not sure it's entirely a three-seater. We've got an impressive centre console armrest here. There's a very nice bit of kit, but if I clamber in, I have to climb over the handbrake. It's got a fly-off handbrake, which we'll show you in a moment. And I love the door pulls. It's just simple Austerity motoring. I love this old steering wheel, although the Lion seems a little squiffy on it. So that is proper old school. We've got the usual light control, which is very 504, so that's off. Side lights, normal lights, dip, and main beam. It's an interesting way of controlling it. The indicator stalk is a little more robust than the one on the Saloon, but only just. These things are all relative. We've got hazard lights here. Oh yeah, it's got a good rhythm on the indicators. Blanking plugs, ahoy. Wiper control is a rotate switch down here, and I believe you push for screen wash. Non-functioning at the moment. We've got a bottle of water for emergencies. We've got a choke control here, so that's to choke the carburetor. We've got another blanking plug there. Nice simple heater controls, much more simple than the Saloon. Quite a complicated setup, I think. Got this lovely Radiomobile stereo, although we've only got one speaker and that's it, just resting on the centre console down there, and you can kind of see the heater controls coming down here as well. But plenty of room in the footwell for my big feet, and I love the gear lever as well. Look at the curve on it, although it's a little vague in use. There's first, second, third and fourth is where you kind of expect second to be. Don't go over here because that's where reverse is. So yeah, it's so simple. It hasn't got the pull-up fancy dash vents of the Saloon, but if you pull that lever back, you get fresh air to the face, which is nice because otherwise it might get a bit stuffy. But good view out the back through this little window. We've got a little interior light there as well, and that really is about it. A glove box which is well stuffed in this example, but yeah, it's a nice comfortable place to sit. I think you sit a bit higher up on this seat than you do in the Saloon. The Saloon you really do sink down into the seats. I don't think this is adjustable in any way, possibly just backwards and forwards, but it can't go backwards anymore because we're already on the cab. But yeah, plenty of room, nice comfortable driving position. If you come around the other side, incidentally, look how wide the door goes. That's a full 90 degrees. That's Daihatsu Charade levels. But yeah, the handbrake down here is a fly off. So this is the handbrake on, and you'll see that it's gone floppy. So it's not catching your leg when you get out. Peugeot could do with revisiting that for the Peugeot Boxer vans, because by heck do you keep catching your leg when you jump out of one of those. If I put my foot on the foot brake, so I pull the handle up, press the button, that is handbrake released, and then pull up again, press the button, and the handle drops back. That is handbrake on. So if I take my foot off the brake, we don't go anywhere. So that takes a little bit of learning, but yeah, really nice place to sit. Let's go for a drive. Right, start the engine. The heater fan is a little noisy. Maybe we can turn that down a bit. Oh, there we go, it's off.
Noisy for a moment, apparently.
Noisy for a moment, but start the engine. And there we go. Settles down to a very pleasant idle. It has 35,000 miles on the clock. This is one of those barn find cars. It was just parked up fairly early in its life, which is probably why it survived. 504 pickup survivors here are very rare. Although I noticed when I was doing my research that one from the UK has ended up in Australia somehow. So strange how these things pan out sometimes. We shall do the windscreen wiper test, but first of all, I've got to go all manual on my screen wash, I'm afraid. So there we go, works a treat. And turn the switch, and there's the wiper. It's the left-hand drive pattern, but that leaves this huge corner of disappointment. Now on the Saloon, you sat a bit lower in your big soft seat, so I wasn't looking out of this area so much, but in the pickup I'm sitting a bit higher. That is a bit annoying, but not much point complaining. Peugeot never did anything about it, just moved to a left-hand drive market instead. But the engine is It sounds very old school. It matches the look of this steering wheel. I find it a bit odd, but it's a fairly modernish plastic interior. This wheel looks like it's straight from the 1960s, but nonetheless it's a decent size and gives good leverage. Although the steering really doesn't feel very heavy. Mind you, we are unladen. Maybe if you had a ton in the back it would feel different. So we get our first gear position. I pull the handbrake up to press the button and then release it. Whirl the wheel. Get mild wheel spin on the grass there. Look behind us, we're all good. On this beautiful road in the Nantumock area. I'm going to have to put the fan on because we're steaming up again. So it feels understandably a lot more agricultural than the 504 Saloon, but that's a particularly high benchmark. So I think it actually rides quite well for an unladen commercial vehicle. I mean, you can see we've got a bit of bounce. Leaf springs are always going to be a bit bouncy, but actually it feels really nice. And the steering is a lovely weight. Once you're driving, it doesn't seem to have too much play in it. Although one slight issue is, that's now 4th gear. We're in top gear doing 30 miles an hour. So the gearing is definitely on the short side. It's designed to enable you to climb up a mountain with a ton in the back. So we'll get out on the main road and see how she really feels. Thankfully, I think we'll be on 50 mile an hour limits. That may suit us very well indeed. We've got no rev counter. We haven't even got a coolant gauge. So the only way to know it's overheating is when steam starts appearing out of the bonnet, I guess. But here comes the cattle grid. Barely felt it at all, so it still manages to be quite cosseting for a commercial vehicle. The brakes are all drum, bizarrely. I think this was the last year that they had drum on the front brake, and they can be a little snatchy. So we'll watch how we go. But yeah, what a very strange and unique survivor. Generally, if you see 504 pickups for sale in the UK, they're from the late 1980s, usually with the later diesel engine. Still not vastly powerful, but a bit more grunt. This petrol engine is very much designed with torque in mind, so it pulls very well at low revs. And there's not really much point revving it. It doesn't seem to have an awful lot of power high up. On with the indicator. Oh, no. Quite tricky to find 4th. I've known of this car for a while, so it's lovely to finally have the opportunity to take it out. Do the window up a bit. The air is a little fresh today, but I want to leave it open a little bit just for some extra mechanical noise. Here we go, 50 mile an hour limit. It's making eager noises, speed is slowly increasing. And that's 50 mile an hour, and as you can hear, she's a bit busy. Later on, obviously, a 5-speed gearbox was added to the range, but it's worth bearing in mind, when this car was built, or this pickup was built, Citroën had only just stopped making the Citroën HVAT, which is considerably more painful at 50. It seems the French really did design their commercials for local use only, not getting around the country. So thankfully there are no motorways around here, which is good because I don't think you'd want to travel on one. But it does feel all very nice, very tight and together. This is apart from the buzzy engine, this is very pleasant to drive. Just a world away from the luxury of that 504 saloon. It was a TI automatic we drove, and it was just lovely. I caused great consternation by suggesting it may be better than a Citroen DS, but in a great many ways I think it was. DS wins for front wheel drive and just the sheer drama of the thing, but as an everyday classic prospect, I think the 504 offers almost as much. Certainly a lot of comfort which you might not expect. Need to try Renault 16 next. That's 55 and that's starting to sound unpleasant, so yeah, it's not a vehicle for getting down a motorway. Feels nice and planted actually. Probably a bit less body roll than the saloon just because the suspension is that much firmer. It's a lovely noise, so charming. Yeah, once you get the knack of it, it's not too bad a gearbox, but finding fourth for the first time definitely took some effort. It's much further over than you expect. And hit those drum brakes. They require a bit of shoving, but they do actually work. Very weird, drum brakes in 1981. Yeah, I'm going to say the TI Saloon Automatic is better for cruising. Whoa. That's a surprisingly entertaining drive, and yeah, the very agricultural version of that luxurious saloon we drove last year, but this is such a lovely surviving example, so huge thanks to John for letting us drive it, and we shall see you in a future video. Don't forget, HubNut merch available at our HubNut stores variously. Please see the descriptions. European delivery now possible again from our second store. See you soon. Bye.